Welcome back to Faculty Spotlights. My name is Dr. Anna Belmonte. I am the division chair for our forensic psychology programs here at the Chicago School. And today I'm joined by Dr. Jim Iaccino, an associate professor in our online department. Thanks, Dr. Iaccino, for joining me today.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, to get us started, can you share a little bit about your background and what brought you to the Chicago School?
Okay, well, my area of specialty is experimental psychology with concentrations in statistics and physiological psychology. So, about 9 years ago, when I joined the online program, they were looking for someone specifically with the research methods expertise to upgrade their applied research project courses, their ARP courses in the non-licensure track. Also around the same time too, they were getting ready to launch the licensure track program too, and they needed someone to teach some of those quantitative courses like research methods in it. And I didn't realize at the time that there's few and far between at the Chicago School who have an expertise in research methods. So I was glad that I could use my experimental psych background to teach those classes.
Yeah, it is one of those niche areas that we always are, in need of really strong instructors for, and our students really benefit from people like you who have that as their, professional background and are really invested in teaching research methods and statistics and everything that goes along with that.
Right, right. And just to add that before my time teaching online, I was also teaching on ground at the Chicago campus for about 8 or 9 years too. And when they had the clinical psych PsyD program, I was
Mhm.
also teaching things like statistics and advanced stats for them too. So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for reminding me of that.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, you've already kind of started to touch on this, but can you go a little bit more in depth about what areas of teaching and research or practice that you're most passionate about?
Well, one of the things, of course, is research methods, getting people really interested in research. And that's sort of a little bit difficult to do, but I find that it starts with acquainting them with the resources of the Chicago Schools
Mhm.
Library database. A lot of our students, at least in the online program, haven't used it too much. They don't know how to use the filters to finding the
Mhm.
best articles out there. So I believe in all of my classes, I've had several sessions where I train them on using the filters to
Mhm.
finding good peer-reviewed articles for for their papers. And they learn. They learn by doing, and over time they get a little bit more sophisticated in searching the database for right proper articles. But it's a challenge for some, getting them interested in it. Another area is serial killers. And
Yeah.
I started this project at the on ground campus
Mhm.
where I had students coding particular films, noting the characteristics of those film killers, what I call cinematic serial killers in those films, tying them into characteristics of real life killers. And I've continued that in the online campus, and I've involved over 100 forensic psychology students volunteering. It's strictly on a volunteer
Mhm.
basis to help me code those films. And we've coded close to now 80 films. So we have a pretty good database of serial killer films too. And they find that real fascinating. I didn't know how much they would really appreciate my interest in the area, but they really want to know
Mhm.
what makes these individuals tick, what sort of
Mhm.
drives them to be motivated to killing people, and what is their background. They're growing up, the types of abuse they might have
Mhm.
experienced by their parents and being rejected by them that could have led them down that path. So I really think that's cool. And I developed a course, a
Yeah.
1 hour course, an elective course on it. And now I'm developing a 3 hour core course for our new program,
Yep.
the Applied Forensic Psychology program. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I was hoping you would mention your work and your coursework regarding serial killers because I do think that's one of those areas that a lot of our students are interested in. And, in the grand scheme of things, most of us in this field will never like come to interact directly with a serial killer in our lifetime career. But to be able to understand it, and I love the way that you've kind of exposed students to it through film. And I think it's such
Yes.
a unique window into, again, a very small, base rate of the population who goes on to commit offenses like that. And I do think it's one of those courses that brings students in the door and it gets them excited about being in an academic program in forensic psychology.
Yeah, I think using film really works. It's hard to even interview people like serial killers. I tried that myself. I couldn't, but using films is the next best thing because you can
Mhm.
educate students too in terms of what characteristics in these films are like serial killers, real life serial killers. What characteristics have they exaggerated, magnified out of all proportions? It's serving to educate our students too, to note what characteristics are factual and what are fictitious in their portrayals of real life offenders. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And so, how do you see your work? You already spoke a little bit about how you've
Mhm.
involved students, but how do you see your work really impacting our students and maybe even the community as well?
I think like anything else, let's take the serial killers, for instance, again, I think really allowing them to understand what is accurate out there in the media and what is not. Now, fortunately, there is a lot of not only podcasts out there, but
Mhm.
even channels, streaming services that have excellent documentaries on
Mhm.
serial killers. So they're getting some of that education through the media, but I'm also supporting that too through my work in the area. And I think they can carry that with them when they're dealing with clients themselves, especially those clients who have had tough backgrounds,
Mhm.
familial upbringing that has not been there, that may have not prompted them to kill, but perhaps obtain a different condition or disorder as a result of lack of a nice, secure home life, a familial
Mhm.
background, what makes individuals turn to domestic violence and
Mhm.
abuse. So they can tie it in with other populations that they might be working with in the future. So I see that as a definite correlation, a definite strong point that I can bring to them.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that when we talk to students from even before they've gotten into the program about is the misinformation about our field out there. And it's really, I think, incumbent on our students that, after they graduate to use the knowledge they gain in our programs to correct that misinformation and to be that, embodiment of what forensic psychology truly is, not just what the media tends to show what we do
Right,
as.
right. But I think they're surprised too that they're finding, especially in films that are portrayals of real life killers, how more recent films from the 2000s on up have portrayed them much more accurately, like the film Monster, for instance, with
Mhm.
Eileen Wuornos, which is an excellent film that they're seeing more the connections, the tie-ins with real life offenders. And then they can talk about this with their family, their friends, their relatives in terms of what they've learned too. So that information isn't just restricted to them, but hopefully they can communicate to others what they've learned as well.
Right. And so what do you think makes our program unique or especially valuable to students? They've got a lot of choices out there. Why us?
I believe that one of the things is that we have a great team of faculty of diverse areas, of
Mhm,
diverse interests. Like, for instance, I'm in experimental psychology. I complement those that are more in the clinical, the counseling route, exercising therapies. Students are exposed to a wide variety of disciplines and fields, and we're able to communicate that information to them in their particular courses
mhm,
too. We model our behavior with them as well, that we're not the know-it-alls, that we're learning as much about our field as others are, as well as staying up to date with the research, staying up to
mhm,
date with the literature, so that we're always updating our courses, as we know, in terms of revamping our curriculum. But that's a
mhm,
good thing, so that we never get stagnant and old, and we can relay up to date contemporary information to students as well. And we also encourage them too, if they want to go on, and I like that too, past the
mhm.
master's degree.
Yep.
If they want to pursue, for instance, the non licensure route or the applied forensic psych route, to go
Mhm.
on for the PhD in research, or for those in the licensure track to go on for a PsyD in
Yep.
clinical. So we encourage that too, so that they can advance and grow in their field as well. So that's
Oh,
another thing. Yeah.
great. And last but not least, what advice would you give to current or prospective students in our field or coming to our programs?
I think a couple things, and I might have mentioned this before with my colleagues, but always be willing to learn new things. We can never know enough about our field. And tied into that, recognizing the importance of research to the field too, staying up to date with publications in one's area, articles, books. So students are aware of the most current therapeutic interventions out
Mhm,
there for in particular treatments. Also, not to remain isolated, but
mhm,
network with others on platforms like LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an excellent one for connecting up with professionals in the field, students, even from the
mhm,
Chicago school, who go on. And by sharing your expertise with others, you might be able to form a lasting friendship connection for life. So always try to use platforms like LinkedIn
mhm.
to professionally advance as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Iaccino, for sharing all of your insights with us. Appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. I appreciate it as well. Thanks.